Alrighty, I think we're live. So we're going to go ahead and say hello, everybody. Welcome and congratulations on taking this first step and being with us here today. We're excited for you to have the opportunity to learn more about IdeaPath Academy and hear from our founders who we have here today. Ultimately, IdeaPath Academy was developed by the masterminds at Ideal Strategic Partners, and it was through their collective experience that they identified the gaps within the industry and created the Academy as a way to help more entrepreneurs like yourself. So they've experienced throughout their careers firsthand the challenges of launching a new product and developed IdeaPath Academy as a way to educate innovators on saving time and money by avoiding the common mistakes that are made when launching a new product. So before we dive in, I'm Bailey Roshala. I'm the operations manager here at IdeaPath Academy, and I will be moderating today's session. As a reminder, this session will be recorded. So following today's webinar, you're going to receive an email containing the link, and we certainly encourage you to rewatch it and share with somebody that you might know that's looking to launch a product idea. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into getting to know our team a little bit better. So I'll go ahead with some introductions. And first we have Scott Moffitt. Scott Moffitt is one of our co-founders at IdeaPath Academy and our head of partnerships at Ideal Strategic Partners. And Scott specifically works on the front end of the business. So he really sees day to day the barriers that entrepreneurs are facing when they're first launching their product ideas. And so throughout his career, he's helped launch over 100 product-based businesses, and along the way has developed a passion for helping innovators truly make their ideas a reality. And so next we have John Roshala. He's an additional co-founder of IdeaPath and a managing partner at Ideal Strategic Partners. And John is truly a visionary leader because he has a proven track record in launching and scaling businesses to 8 figures. And it's really through his strategic approach that we've developed this methodology that's been proven time and time again, from taking a concept simply from a napkin to revenue generation. And then lastly, we have Ken May, another co-founder of IdeaPath and our senior partner advisor at Ideal Strategic Partners. And Ken brings decades of experience in sales, marketing, and business operations, and has been an entrepreneur and a leader within Fortune 100 companies. And so we're grateful to have his expertise because he's been alongside us, bringing ideas to fruition. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. We're excited to hear your insights and really dive into the topics and the things that you've learned along the way throughout your career. I mean, I think we've all heard the statistic, 90% of startups fail. And so we've developed this process as a way to assume a success within launching new product businesses. So it's really through this proprietary process that, we've made available to all entrepreneurs, no matter what stage they're at, to really learn from our successes and our failures. So I'm sure our viewers right now are wondering, what is IdeaPath Academy? And so we're going to get into that and more topics here shortly. But let's go ahead and ask some of our founders some questions, starting with Scott. I'd like for you to tell us, what challenges do entrepreneurs face and how can IdeaPath Academy help them?
Great question. Thank you, Bailey. So I guess the real question is, what challenges don't entrepreneurs face when it comes to launching a new product or product-based business, right? So everything, it starts with just an idea, right? You have an idea for a new product or technology and something that can really be innovative, disrupt a space. What do you do, right? What are the right steps to take? What order do you take them in? Do I get a patent? Do I want to end up with licensing? Do I want to manufacture this? What's going to be required to scale this? There's a lot of unknowns that are out there. And that's really, some of the biggest challenges is just uncertainty, right? Confidence is a demonstration of knowledge. So to go into something confidently, it requires the knowledge behind it. And what is a process? Really, a process is a series of steps that get you to an end result, right? And so that's the data-driven, disciplined part of the IdeaPath process in general.
Great. And so now I'd like to ask John to tell us a little bit more about the specific steps. We talk about this proven process that we've developed. What are the key steps that entrepreneurs should take when launching their new products?
IdeaPath Academy, we've outlined a 4-stage process, which really mirrors what we do with all of our portfolio partners that we work with on a daily basis. and it's 4 steps. I'm going to give you some highlights and overviews, and then I'm going to hand it back to Scott because he is really in depth with the details of it and talks with hundreds, not thousands of entrepreneurs literally on a monthly basis about this process. But there's 4 key steps and a lot of what you're going to learn in this academy because this was created for you. The very first one is probably the most important. Think of the infrastructure of anything you're going to build. It needs that foundation. It needs a concrete foundation to build on. If you don't have a strong foundation, you don't know exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it to support as you grow up in your organization, then it's going to tumble. And sadly, many businesses do. In fact, just you said 9 out of every 10 businesses do. And that's because almost that same number fail to do the very first step. The very first step is market research. And it's not just any market research, but it is a very, very deep dive. You're not only looking at concepts and ideas, but you're studying the market. You're looking in for the total addressable market and the service addressable market and the service operational market. You're looking at how fast the industry is growing. Are you in truly a good supply and demand chain where you're that over inflation, so you're with a growing market? We call it compound annual growth rate. How about your competitors? And how about the demographic? Actually, think about it. Who are the people you're going to sell to and why? And why are they going to buy your product? And again, Scott's going to expand on that. But competitor analysis, who's out there currently? And some of you may say, oh, there's nobody doing what I'm doing. This is brand new. This is totally innovative. That may be the case, but there are many competitors in your industry that could shift very quickly and develop possibly what you're thinking. You need to know about them, right? And then how about surveys, going out there and talking to people and asking them questions to find out what would they like, how would they like it, where would they buy it, how much is of value to them. All those things are in market research, not to mention pro formas, looking at an overall strategy, you name it. It really goes inside that market research. And once you have that information, then you say, okay, I've got a basis for what everybody is really looking for. Who do I want to be to support them and provide my product to them? And that's strategy and branding, which is stage 2. And it starts with the very basic fundamental exercises and stuff that you can do to identify your brand. At Ideal Strategic Partners, we don't build just products, we build movements and brands. And you're going to learn the key components to that. Strategy and branding is also about your tagline and your value proposition and your mission statement. It's very all-inclusive, and to create yourself a really almost a Fortune 500 quality like branding kit. Once you have that, you've got that identity. Now you're prepared to go work on the product. And stage 3 is product development. It's probably one of the most difficult stages you're going to face because it has so many variables that are involved. From initial discovery, working all the way through to detailed analysis of engineering, CAD drawings, design for manufacturing, molds, tools, production runs, colors, samples, prototypes, back and forth. And then once you finally have that master prototype and you've selected a manufacturer, you've got the molds going and everything, you can start working on stage 4. What are you going to do to announce your product to the world? And that's market launch. And there's so many aspects to market launch that are important. We want to make a big splash with our portfolio companies. And the number one thing you have to do during market launch is build awareness. It's not a field of dreams approach, build it and they will come. Most products, you have to build that awareness. So I have actually covered quite a few things in there, but there's some key critical components that you can learn from Scott as a follow-up. Scott?
No, that was a great overview, John. I think, as hearing it and go through it and what we do in the IdeaPath process, right? It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But the reality is that, you don't have $1 billion company without doing a lot. So, I think for a lot of people, it's just having confidence in knowing the steps they're going to take. And some people say, I just have an idea for a product. The barrier has not ever been lower for an entrepreneur to be successful in launching a new product and product-based business. The barrier has never been lower with the technology that we can use, all the different software, the tools, AI, how far AI has come. The barrier to be able to compete with some of these conglomerates, multinational companies, as an entrepreneur launching a new product has never been lower. but you still have to do the work, and you still have to do the right work and the right steps in the right order. And that's where IdeaPath comes into play. So John touched on a lot of it. I think the only thing I will double down on, because again, it is the most important part, is the market research. Market research is the cornerstone of this process. It's not about what you think. It's not about what we think. It's about what the consumer thinks. Jeff Bezos is known for saying this in all of his interviews, a lot of his interviews, not all of them. At all of his boardroom meetings, he always leaves one seat open at the boardroom table, and that's representative of the customer, to remind everyone else at that table what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing and who it's for. So that's where market research comes in. Who is my target audience initially? You may say it's a $7 billion market. Great. That doesn't mean that's your target market, right? Who is your highest probability of success? Age range, gender, geographic location, income level. What are they going to be most receptive to? Features, functionality, size, material. Where do they make their purchasing decisions? When you get in the mind of the customer and you can build that, when you bring that solution, right? It's not about products. Products move pieces, as John says all the time. They move pieces. It's about the movement. And when you can connect and solve that problem, that's when the magic happens. So.
Great. All perfect insights into what people can expect to learn within the course. But the course is truly so much more than that. And maybe we can have Ken speak to some of the unique tools or resources that are within the course that course takers can expect to encounter.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that, Bailey. But I'd also like to mention, I think one of the benefits of the course, it can be a little overwhelming when you listen to John and Scott describe everything that's in the course. We have 91 lessons in the course. We have over 10 hours of video, and we have a workbook that's 130 pages. I wish that there was a course like this when I started my first company. It was so long ago that there wasn't even the internet. And so, and I think what this course helps is for people really to decide if they're, up for the challenge, if they really want to be an entrepreneur. But I think what the Academy provides is a lot of information that can help you avoid the potholes, the roadblocks, going the wrong way. All of this has to do with, being a roadmap. The Academy, in a lot of ways, is a roadmap. And if you have a roadmap, you can get from point A to point B. And that's what the IdeaPath process is. When I first started my business, and I talk to people all the time who wish they had had a course like this, it's affordable because when you start out, there is no manual of how to do this, and you kind of make things up as you go along. What the Academy provides is that roadmap. And my favorite part of the Academy is the workbook, because you're going to take what you learn from the 91 lessons taught by all of the different instructors who are experts in the different areas, and apply that information to your business. And that's what's really important, is that you can take the lessons, you can do the Academy at your own pace. You can re-watch lessons, and then you can apply all of those things and really kind of build your business plan using the workbook to do that. So all of those things together will hopefully either help you put that roadmap together for your business, or it could even help you decide that, maybe being a entrepreneur is a bigger challenge than you're willing to take, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And so I'll ask us to dive even deeper. We talk about these specific challenges that the course goes into in our methodology, but I would like to know, what are some misconceptions within the product launching space? And I'll propose that to John. John, go into a little bit more detail about where people are kind of led astray within this industry.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to kind of somewhat deflect to Scott, because he's on the front end of the business. I know it well, but nobody would know it better than him. But I'm going to raise a couple categories and then hand it over to Scott. Misconceptions about licensing. misconceptions about getting a patent and going through, right, real quick. And misconceptions about, hey, just get out there, get your product as soon as possible and get it out to the market. You know, just get it done as quick as possible without doing about your homework. That's three big ones, but Scott's going to go through a litany of them.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest misconceptions, and John, that was a big one, is, getting a patent. I guess roadblocks and potential landmines that are out there, right? So there are companies out there that promote inventions or claim to promote inventions. And one of the first things that they will always recommend doing is getting a patent right out of the gate. You don't know what you're protecting at that point. You don't know what you should be protecting at that point. And so I think as just talking to anyone watching this or anyone curious about launching a product, do your homework. Do your homework on anyone and everyone that you're talking to or you're thinking about working with, with the IdeaPath process and with this academy. And we're going to talk more about the academy later. Ultimately, I really want to focus on why we're here and what the problem is that this solves. But even as you go through it, you're going to be doing this work. You're going to be working with people and companies. And so make sure to vet them, because there's bad apples in every space. But understanding, what those challenges are with, is it the right time to license? What is the right path to licensing? So many people think that, you build a product and then you just, as John talked about, you just go out there and run and take it to market. By the time you launch your product, you should be almost certain that you know exactly who your market is, you have what they're looking for at the price they're willing to pay, and you know where they make their purchasing decisions. So when people come to it on the front end, they say, I need help with marketing. For me personally, that's a little bit like nails on a chalkboard, right? Because if you did the market research, then really the launch is really just executing on what you already know and everything you've built based on the data, right? The data-driven aspect. And, it just reminded me when John was talking about the process, and Ken mentioned it earlier, I'm a big sports fan, and in sports, that they always talk with coaches, some of the best coaches. Trust the process, process. Processes are refined over time, right? That's why they're processes. So, to be able to lean on the process that's been defined by people who have failed time and time again, over and over, and be able to learn from that wisdom, that for me personally it makes this so incredible, because it's a process you can have confidence in. You haven't done it before, that's fine. You're not confident in yourself to be able to execute alone. Neither would I be. But when you have the value of a process and something that's tried, true, it's proven, that will instill that confidence in you. But I know I went on to a little bit of a different path from the question. There's a million different landmines, Bailey. I don't know how much time you have to talk about them. Some of the future topics I'm sure we'll be discussing. We can dig more into each of them. But there's a lot of roadblocks out there. And Ken, Ken, you mentioned earlier, the internet. And you said, the roadmap. I always say when I plug something into Google or Waze, right, it's going to take me on detours. You use the old-fashioned roadmap, MapQuest. I like it. So that's where, but you end up in the same place, right? You start with the end in mind. So,
yeah, Scott. By the way, one of my early jobs out of college was I was a UPS driver, and we didn't have navigation applications. For those who would remember, we had to use a Thomas guide. We actually had to use a real map. But, you touched on it, Scott, and I mentioned earlier also, we've talked about the potholes, the landmines, the roadblocks. One of the things that when we work with people, and what people will get out of the academy is learning from our mistakes, right? The things that we did wrong. And one of the real satisfying parts of working with people is helping them to avoid those. Sharing with them, the mistakes and even the failures. I've had that in my career too, either as an entrepreneur and even working for the largest companies, in the U.S. and abroad. And so a lot of that is also helpful. Things we talk about, things to avoid, things to watch out for, so that you don't, get yourself going in the wrong direction using that map analogy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you guys for really helping us understand more about why you created IdeaPath Academy. And we do want to get into a little bit more about who the Academy is specifically for. But to our viewers, as you can tell, our founders really did recognize this common pain point that they saw time and time again of, a lack of reliable resources and mentorship. And so we really are here with this Academy with the trusted step-by-step process that we're excited to be rolling out to you. And so now, again, I want to talk a little bit more about who is this course designed for. And so I'll ask Scott, what entrepreneurs and what products do you see benefiting most from this course?
That is a great question, Bailey. So from my perspective, there's really two sides to the course, right? There's the step-by-step executable process of IdeaPath, but there's also peppered and sprinkled in. There's a lot of coaching and mentorship that goes into that. So frankly, we've thrown around the term because this is for entrepreneurs, but it's a very broad term, right? You can be an entrepreneur and have a sandwich shop. You can have a service-based business. There's a lot of different entrepreneurship routes. The underlying principles in the IdeaPath process are valuable to anyone that would watch it. The process itself is focused on more so product-based physical manufacturable products or mobile applications. There's a section on the app process and development, as well as in physical manufacturable products. That does not mean that someone who's looking to open a restaurant wouldn't find value in it. It's probably, there's parts of it that wouldn't be applicable. But in terms of the coaching, the mentorship, the data-driven aspect, there's a lot of those core foundational issues that would be. So who is it for? It's for someone who's ready to do the work. It's for someone who's committed. It's for someone who, is tired of seeing people outpace them and achieve things when they know that they have it within themselves and they're ready to really roll up their sleeves, but they want to work smart and hard. People who, and I'm not even going to talk much about it because it's a John term that I took long ago, but have learning agility. And I'm sure John will talk about that because that's something that stuck with me for a very long time. But it's something that it's the same process, whether we're launching an athletic product, a medical device, a mobile application, a household good. The process doesn't change because the three key data points that we uncover in market research: who specifically is your target market? What are they going to be most receptive to? I'm a broken record. Where do they make their purchasing decisions? But once you have that information, you could be selling snow blowers or lemonade. I mean, the data will drive everything else you do on top of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with so many different kinds of products, and the process applies to all of them. Baby products, automotive products, education products, products to work out with, and the process applies to all. But I think when we say who is the Academy for, and we say it's for entrepreneurs, I think it's also an opportunity to explore if you are in fact an entrepreneur. And I touched on it earlier, and it's okay if you're not, because being an entrepreneur and owning your own business, starting your own company, it is not a 9-to-5 job, and it will have its challenges. There'll be a lot of good times. A lot of things to celebrate, and as you grow, you continue to encounter those growing pains. So I like the idea that people should take the Academy to hopefully launch your business, but also learn what it's going to take so that you can make that sound decision as to whether or not it is in fact for you. But if you are up to it, the Academy will definitely be helpful in getting you to where you want to go.
Yep. Very great. And so I'll ask John, I think we all know when we have people come to us for partnerships, they're always at various different stages. Some people just have an idea on a napkin. Some people might have gone down that patenting route. Some people even have a prototype. So can you speak on how this course is really geared to help people at all different stages?
Well, the course is such that it's set up in modules, and anybody can skip to particular modules. But the reality is everybody should start at the beginning because it all builds on itself. We deal with some of the most savvy already entrepreneurs in our company, Ideal Strategic Partners, and their portfolio companies. And we deal with people that have never had a business before and have never launched a product. There's the gamut, because we're looking for what I call the right horse and the right jockey. That horse is the technology and the product. Go through a myriad of things of due diligence to make sure it's a good fit. And then who is the founder? Are they coachable? Do they have the ability to have the level of acumen, drive, and desire to go through this? Entrepreneurship is not easy. In fact, it's everything else but that. It's probably one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. Surely, besides raising family and kids and getting out there, it's been the most difficult thing for me, no doubt about it. But it also, like raising a family and kids, is also the most rewarding. So always encourage everybody, if you have a product idea, something that you really want to bring to market, don't count yourself out. I have worked with the most amazing people that had zero public speaking skills. And by the end of working with us, they're still introverts per se, but they can talk to anybody about their product. They can go through the value proposition. They command that audience, if you will, and you can do the very same thing. So keep in mind that, there are a variety of different steps that you go through. And if you say, wow, I've already developed my product and I just want to know about marketing, like Scott mentioned, you go ahead and skip ahead and go into it. But you should go back to the beginning and start with that market research to make sure you got it right. No matter what season of person you are in life and the level of intelligence that you have, commandment of business, and overall financial acumen, you can learn something from this course.
Yeah, John, when we were putting the course together, to your point, I have a gray beard. You're starting to have a gray beard. I've been doing this a long time. But when we were putting the academy together, I was reminded of things that I had forgotten. I learned by listening to some of the other instructors about things that they were, expert in their fields about. And so, you make a good point. Even if you think an area, it doesn't hurt to listen to those modules, go through those lessons, and make sure you haven't missed anything. Because as you do talk about learning agility, there's always more to learn and to get better at what you do.
Absolutely.
The one thing I just would add, and some of our viewers and people who are checking this out, and what is IdeaPath and what problems it solve, I think it might, again, because I do talk to people about this every day, and I think there's parts of it that are like, am I sure that this is something that I want to do? Is this the right fit for me? What amount of money is this going to cost? It sounds like a lot to learn. I've never done any of these things. It's not like I've done 5 out of 7 or 4 out of 6. I've never done any of this. This is all brand new. When I was young, I remember, I used to hear the saying, it's not about what you know, it's who you know, right? And my naivety, I always used to think that means, well, if I know people in high places, I'm going to be in high places. What it means is that you have to be able to place, and this is part of building a team, which is covered in the IdeaPath process. You have to be able to place experts in each individual area. So you don't have to know everything about everything as an entrepreneur. You don't. This course will give you enough of an overview to where if you need to wear that hat temporarily while you're getting your idea off the ground, you can wear it. As soon as you're able to, you transfer that hat so you can work on the business rather than in the business. So I just want to make sure that it's understood that, every entrepreneur who turns it into a huge company, people are sitting there, I have an idea for a product. These people are talking about starting a business and employees and company. Look, we have the internet. The digital age, people are running 7- and 8-figure businesses from their home office, from their garage, doing what this process will teach you how to do. So, it may seem overwhelming, frankly. And as I sit back and listen, for someone who doesn't live in this world like we do on a daily basis, I think it might be. You just have to take that first step, and that first step is knowledge. It's the same thing as the IdeaPath process: knowledge, market research. So when you learn, then that will ultimately guide everything else you do and all those decisions. So.
Yeah, Great. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. And before we jump into the Q&A here, because we've already kind of at the 30-minute mark, I do want to make sure that, everybody check in with everybody, because I hope you're feeling empowered and, ready for this next step, because we have the tools for you and we're building a community of people to help you get there. And so as a special offering and an opportunity to you today to make your idea a reality, we're offering you a special discount towards $250 off enrollment. And so you can see Cooper, our producer behind the scenes, has already dropped a link there. We'll leave that there for a few moments. And of course, we're going to email it to you following. But using code webinar1 at checkout, you can claim this limited time offer. So I know just listening to these guys, it got me excited. And so I hope you're feeling the same on the other end. It can be daunting, but at the same time, this course is designed to empower you with confidence to take your ideas to the next step. And so this is something we're passionate about. I hope you can see that behind all of our responses here today. And again, we're going to go into a live Q&A here shortly and kind of address some of your more pressing questions that you guys posed to us. And so I want to thank all of the viewers that did take the time to submit questions ahead of time. We actually received so many great questions. It's unlikely that we'll get to them all today, but we do want to touch on as many as we can. And we'll encourage you to look out for future sessions on these hot topics that we know you guys want to know more about, because we want to set you guys up for success ultimately. So I know you guys might also be aware we were offering a $25 Amazon gift card to people that submitted questions. So again, thank you. We will be in touch with that winner following this session as well today. But I'm excited to dive into the Q&A. So we'll spend the next few minutes here just answering questions live. So I'm going to go ahead and start with asking Scott. You talked about who this course is for. But somebody has asked, who is this course not for?
Oh, great question. I mean, can I give just the opposite of what? No, I mean, look, it's difficult for people that who have worked in a corporate environment or an environment where you punch a time clock and you clock in and clock out. It's very difficult to transition into, you eat by the sweat of your brow. You eat based on what you work, and the amount of level and what you put into it. And that's what entrepreneurship is. And frankly, if you're looking for this exchange right out of the gate, how soon am I going to be making money? I mean, it's an investment, and that's where it's challenging. So it's, anybody who's not ready to fight the good fight and really persevere. There's people call entrepreneurs a little bit crazy, and I absolutely agree with it. You have to frame failure differently. So if the first no you get, you're going to crawl into a corner. Do not take this course. Don't launch a product. It's not a fit. I think anyone can be an entrepreneur, but I don't think anyone is an entrepreneur, right? And so I think anybody who has that desire and that fight, and that, as John will talk about, this is a great opportunity, John, for you to talk about learning agility, because it's something that's been ingrained in my mind since when we met 10 years ago, and I first heard it from you. But it's not for someone who doesn't want to learn. Right. This is an opportunity to gain knowledge. It's not for someone who doesn't want to do the work. And it's not for a quitter. You don't. Yeah. So that's my answer. And Ken,
yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to answer a little bit about learning agility. And we go into a lot more in the course, but I'll break it down really quickly. I want you to think of a quarterback or a running back on a field. And I want you to know that anybody that's going to get to the NFL, we already know that they're at the top of their game. Physical shape, mental shape, they know the plays, they've studied it, they've been doing it for decades. They're the top of the top, they're the best of the best, right? And to get to there, you have to have mastered what we call this learning agility. Same thing applies for anybody starting a business. You've got to really work on the mastery of that, because you're going to be hit with everything you can ever imagine that's going to try to disrupt and have you stop the business and stop your dream, right? And so it's a lot of practice. So learning agility is two words, learning and agility. We'll make the assumption that you have the ability to learn new things pretty quickly, because as an entrepreneur, you're going to learn a lot very, very quickly. Once you have that, that's great. But the agility comes in as you learn, you're basically able to simultaneously pivot and make decisions based on those learnings. So let's go back to the analogy of that quarterback and that running back. They memorize a playbook 4+ inches, right? And this is where Scott's going to tell you, I don't have a lot of sports background with stuff. I love to play all sports, but I don't watch a lot of it. So sometimes I get mixed up on some of the sports. But this one I won't get mixed up on. They have a playbook this thick, right? And I'm fortunate my godson plays tight end for University of Michigan, right? And he has a playbook this much, and he's had to memorize this, as anybody that's going to the NFL has to know. And they have to know those plays, not only for themselves, their position, but for everybody on the field. And they practice. But guess what happens when you get out there and it's game day? And by the way, when you're at game day and you're on the field, you have a horizontal view. You're actually in the arena, they call it. You're not in the seats up here looking down when you can see the openings. Go, why don't you run here? Why don't you run there? It doesn't work that way. No armchair quarterbacks, they call them, right? You're actually in the arena. The plays executed, you're supposed to do certain things, and all of a sudden people move different places and do different things. And that hole you thought was going to open doesn't open. What do? Go into the hole anyway? No, you learn information very quickly and you pivot and make decisions. And the most successful entrepreneurs work on mastering that, right? And part of the coaching and training that we'll talk about doing that very same thing. Now, I do want to say this. The course itself, as mentioned, is not for everybody. But we created this course simply because we could not help enough people. In our core business, we spend a tremendous amount of time and resources with IdeaPath, with our founders. Not only months, but years with them. We have a vested interest to do so, right? But we can only help so many people because there's only so much of us and so much resources. So one day, and I remember when it was, I asked that famous question during a board meeting, are we helping enough people? Everybody looked at everybody and said, no, we're not. How do we fix that? We've got to get this out there to the masses, right? And Scott mentioned there's no better time to start a business. They say, what's the best time to plant an oak tree? 20 years ago. What's the second best time? Today. That applies to the business. So when you jump in this course, no matter what level you are at and where you are in the process, you're going to get a jump start.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you, Scott. I'll ask the next question because, again, we do have lots of questions. I want to try and touch on a few here before we, wrap up for the night. But I want to ask Scott, somebody asked, is this a one-time thing? What can we expect in the future out of IdeaPath Academy here?
No, absolutely not a one-time thing. This was the announcement and kind of the formal coming out of IdeaPath Academy to meeting the founders. But there's so much more to come, and that's what I'm really excited about. So I'm glad you asked me that question, Bailey. So different topics and doing special segments both on things like patents, on funding. A lot of people have issues when it comes to finding the funding. How much funding do I need? So some of the key topics and challenges that entrepreneurs face, we're going to be doing additional content on. We're going to be having additional experts and instructors that are part of the course. Ultimately, building a community, just like a product. IdeaPath Academy is a product, but the movement behind it is empowering entrepreneurs. We all will be better off when there's more successful entrepreneurs that are in existence. So being able to provide that game plan, that resource, connecting people. Maybe there's two entrepreneurs that are working in the same industry and one can leverage off the other's experience, or one's worked with one factory. So building this ecosystem where people can come, they can get fed, they can find the knowledge they need, not from a textbook, from real life people who have gone through the same thing they've gone through, experienced the same thing they've experienced. So there's so much that's going to be coming. And if anybody who's tuned in, whether you end up deciding to purchase the course or not, we're really grateful that you tuned in and continue to stay involved because there's a lot more to come. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. I got a couple more questions here that I'm eager to get your answers on. And this one I'm going to ask to Ken, and I'm going to preface this to our viewers as well. You might not know this about Ken, but Ken walks 10,000 steps a day. We call him Ken 10,000.
20,000.
Sorry,
Bailey.
let me not underrate it.
20,000.
Forgive me. 10,000 is like the lower baseline, but yes, he walks 20,000 steps a day. And so one of our viewers asked, how do you balance work and pleasure? So as somebody that's able to take such great care of your physical health, how do you balance that between work and starting a business?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, in all fairness, I was retired when I started actually running and then walking. And now I'm reminded that I am semi-retired as I work with John and Scott and work with some of our entrepreneurs and also with the Academy. So I would have to say, Bailey, that taking care of your well-being is really important, and you have to find that time. I know that, Scott will get up, really early in the morning. He was doing boxing or to go to the gym. And you have to have that discipline. John goes at night after a very long, 10 or 12-hour day. I know he goes to the gym. The first thing I did was I got a treadmill, so I wouldn't have to go to the gym. But the point is that, it's been said when the question was, who is this not for? To be an entrepreneur, it's not for someone who isn't willing to work hard and long. But for me, walking is a time that I can, think about the things that I'm doing. Yeah, it's good for me physically, and it's good for the soul. And so I do a lot of calls while I'm walking too. So I'm actually doing business. So I think the point of the question is, this is a general statement anyway. It's important to take care of yourself. It's important to take care of your health. If you're run down and you're not feeling well, then it makes it even harder to deal with the stress of what being an entrepreneur sometimes brings. So, thanks for the shout out. Walking is something I enjoy. I'm fortunate. If you don't know, we all live in nice climates. John and I are in San Diego, and Scott's in Tampa, so we can take advantage of the good weather and spend a lot of time outside. But the message is, make sure that you balance and take care of your well-being, because running a business, as anyone who's done it knows, it ain't a 40-hour week.
No, that's part of it. The one thing I would just add to that, Bailey, because it was a great question. Whoever asked the question, phenomenal. It's a lot easier said than done. I can tell you personally, just from personal experience, there's been times where I've worked myself to. I literally had heart surgery. I don't know that they were corroborated or have one thing had something to do with the other, where I ran myself down. So I think that what Ken is referring to, and I know John is big on this, it's intentionality. You have to have that balance, because there's always going to be things to do. And you say, I can't afford to stop working. You can't afford not to stop working if it's going to burn you out and run you into the ground, right? So you can't afford to not take care of yourself. I think.
Hey, Scott, we don't want to scare people that they're going to get heart.
You have to walk 20 and to do IdeaPath. You have to walk 20,000 steps a day. You have to be up at 4:45 in the morning.
I don't think it's that disciplined, but no, I'm just kidding. It's a great process.
Each their own.
What time for just one more question? I saw this one come through, and I thought it was such a great question, and I'll pose it to John, because as our managing partner, he's in the trenches of manufacturing right now. So one person asked, "Can I skip prototype and just manufacture?"
Oh boy, that's a dangerous proposition. First of all, you can do anything that you want to do, right? You have an opportunity to do everything, obligation to do certain things, and if you want to jump right into manufacturing, so be it. But you really need to understand that product from that prototype standpoint. When you jump into manufacturing, you're dealing with a new level of costs, okay? And even unless you're manufacturing it yourself and you're making widgets at home and you're putting stuff together, which, by the way, good luck scaling the business. But ultimately, if you want to scale the business, you need to go to a manufacturing house. If you're making a physical product, you're talking about tooling, molds, a variety of stuff. If you do not build prototypes, test, look, fit, finish, and everything, and you spend, let's just throw out a number, $20,000 for a mold or a tool to make your little plastic widget with everything, right? And it's a one-time cost, and it'll do 500,000 units. Oh, yay. But if you get it wrong, or you need to modify that product because you get it out in the market and you find out that, oh, market says something different, something else is not right, then you're stuck. That prototype gives you the ability to basically vet that, spend time with it, make sure that it's what you want before you invest in the heavier pieces of cost, which are that really manufacturing for scaling.
Yes, can I just add, John? And we've seen this happen, and one of the things that people can avoid, making the mistake of scaling too fast and getting a lot of a product that may not, as you said, be the right product for the market. And that's why we often tell the people that we work with, start with a smaller quantity. So if there is something that's off about it, or a feature that it should have had, or it's not functioning the way that you thought it would, you're not sitting there with this large inventory, right, of product. And also with a prototype, you can I'll say focus group, but it can just be showing it to your friends and family and seeing what they think, and making sure before you go into high scale manufacturing, that you vet the product. I'll just say it that way, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, great
We don't
question.
have time for another one because I love the questions. We should have started with the questions.
Let's see. I mean, I can find another one here. Let's see. How do you determine a successful business? Maybe we can end on that one.
Sure.
Success is
Scott, I'll let you take that.
Okay.
Success is different for everyone, right? I mean, to some, success is, having just being around loved ones, and I don't want to get too deep and emotional, but that's success to certain people. So it's such a broad based term. To others, you can never have enough of stuff, and so each person's different. I think. For me personally, I'll just answer for me personally. Success is doing the most I can with what resources I have in any given scenario to create the best possible outcome. Oh, so that would be the best. That for me, that's success. And then that was lights out, I guess. That was lights out. That would be how I would define success for me. It's just, as a believer, as a Christian myself, it's taking the gifts that I have and doing everything that I can to produce the best possible result. And John always talks about we don't control the outcome, right? We do in certain ways and elements, but it's a journey. So every day is a mission to be successful, each and every day.
Yeah. I like one Scott talks about, and you'll learn this as well, is what is your why? To me, is if you can live your why and you achieve that level of what you want in your life and how you want to do it, I think that's success. So listen, somebody in Okinawa that lives in a little village, their success is clearly different than somebody who's living in New York in a high-rise building, right? It's just much different. The lifestyles are different. So you're going to have different whys. So once you define that and you're working every day to achieve that, and once you do have that, I think that's success.
And that's a great starting point, by the way. Define your why. Ken, I just wanted to say that great.
No, please go right ahead.
Yeah, great starting point for anybody who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, already an entrepreneur. If there's not something that keeps you up at night or gets you out of bed in the morning, and with that fire in your belly, 6 out of 7 days you wake up before the alarm, but that one day that you want to snooze, this is what gets you out of bed. Like, financial windfall. People think when I have the money. When you have the money, what? What do you want to buy a private island and sip Mai Tais? Do you want to open a homeless shelter? When you understand what that end in mind is, and the resource, the money just becomes a stepping stone to get there. It's not the end goal, right? So I'm sorry, Ken.
No, not at all. And we talk about building the right culture. Some people, a successful business is a lifestyle business where you're making a good living. For some people, you want to build the next unicorn. But also, we hope that you're making a difference with your product, and you're making a difference for the people that go on the journey with you. Bailey, I think this was scheduled for 45 minutes. Is that right?
We didn't really have a set time.
Oh, okay.
45 to 60
Only
minutes,
because
so.
I know we were really good
Ken's
about
at 18,000 steps, and there's
because we're good about starting on time, and I didn't know if we were going.
We're doing good.
over.
We're doing good.
Okay.
But
I thought it was. I didn't know if it was 45 minutes or an hour. That's all.
All good.
If we want to do more questions, we certainly can. But
really, if I may, the one thing that I just wanted to say, and I made a note of this, and I know we're going to be wrapping up soon, but I just want to encourage anybody who's watching this, who's on the fence, and not necessarily with this course. If the course is for you, great. If it's not, that's okay. This isn't about selling a course. That's not why we're here. If you find the value in it, excellent, and we believe you'll get tremendous benefit from that. If not, that's okay as well. I just want to encourage and motivate whoever's watching this. There's the higher you climb on the mountain, the more people are going to try to pull you down. The more the bigger your visions get, oftentimes the people that are around you, the people who care about you, the people who you value their opinion, will become naysayers. And this is with anything. So I just want to encourage you, if it's about having the confidence to just step out there, go in with knowledge. Again, Ken said, you may just learn this isn't something for you, but you've learned something, right? And by attending this or watching this, even if it's later, by watching the recording, you've learned something. So I just want to encourage you, you're never going to win a game on the sidelines. I've never seen anybody win a game from the sidelines. You have to get out there and you have to play. And chances are you're going to strike out a lot. You know, the best hitters in baseball struck out a lot, but they were the best hitters in baseball. So you just have to keep showing up. You have to keep wanting to learn. You have to keep fighting. And I believe that gets honored. And I believe success will be on the end of it. Not an instant for most people, but it will be there. So just wanted to encourage our watchers in that way.
Great. Yeah, I know we could talk for hours on these topics, and so we've pared it down into just 50 minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. And again, look out for future webinars. We're excited to continue this and continue to inspire you, but we hope that at the end of the day that you feel like some of this resonated with you and that you're ready to take the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and have Cooper add the book a call link. So if you're somebody that maybe wants a little bit more personalized guidance, we do have the opportunity to speak with one of our enrollment specialists, get that one-on-one experience, get your questions answered, because we want you to feel good about making this investment as well. So this link will also be in the email that you'll get sent to you shortly. So don't worry about if you missed the opportunity. We're going to continue to let you know that we're here for you. We're here to support you in your dreams. And so kind of as a final goodbye and thank you again, congratulations for being here today and really even just taking that pivotal first step. I think, all of our founders shared great insights and valuable information that it's going to take you with confidence, into the next steps, hopefully. So you can always reach us. Our email is info@ideapathacademy.com. Again, Cooper, if you want to drop that limited time offer link, give our viewers the opportunity if they are ready to make that investment in their future. Again, you'll get an email, but we are so thrilled to have spent this evening with each of you guys, and we hope to see you all soon in a future session. But for now, we're going to sign off and say goodbye. So thank you again,
Bailey.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.